Fear takes form in the darkness. The darkness feeds off screams. Fear is the enemy of childhood wonderment, built on hopes and dreams. So remember, in the terror of night, to protect the child, protect the light. Try not to become unstitched.
In a world where the powers of the ancient Greek gods live on through their ancestors, it is up to an intrepid team of heroes to foil the wicked plots of the Hybrid Engineering Corporation. Armed with new information concerning an ancient weapon fabled to have the power to kill a demon, Rev and the team split up to gather the shards and put an end to Azazel before it is too late. Little do they know, the Game Master is still pulling the strings. New characters, new threats, and tons of plot-driven action await you in the Killing Field Part 2.
Hello, hello. How's it going tonight? We are back at it. So we've took a week off last week, and we were kind of a little sporadic. Justin is on his way, I'm sure, and hopefully Todd will be as well. But until then, we're going to be hanging out with Joel and John. Joel and John have a great campaign out. Now let's go ahead and get into that just a little bit. Joel, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, okay?
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show, Luke, first and foremost. So, yeah, my name's Joel Van Patten. Live out in a know-nothing town in New Hampshire. My background, I started as most kids, drawing and things. I was like 7. Did some books for my brother, nothing formal, right? Just kind of pawning them off at school and things like that. Got into metal bands. I was a drummer in a hardcore metal band in like the 1990s. Did a brief little East Coast tour of the U.S. with that. So my art at that point shifted over into doing things like album covers and T-shirt designs and things like that. For a period of time there, I ran a salvage yard, so I didn't do anything with art at all for about, probably 10 years. Got into oil painting real heavy in like 2010. My mother got sick and was dying. It was just something to distract my mind. And then, the painting fine art world was a little bit slow with the recent events of the world going on. So I said, well, what the heck, we'll go back into my roots as an illustrator. So teamed up with John he'd write the book and then I would draw the book. So we're back now doing comics, and hopefully it's a nice harmonious merge of the fine art world with the sequential and illustration world. And that's kind of where I'm at. So 35 years after being a little kid starting, we finally got a real book out. So we're pretty excited about that.
And that's pretty awesome. So so you guys have known each other a while then?
Yeah, we've been working together for probably 3 or 4 years. So our day job, we worked together, and that's how we met each other. We used to sit next to each other in the office, and Joel's fine art would be hanging up around the office. So I used to talk to him about it. I used to draw. I mean, I still draw, but so we hit it off talking about art, and then COVID hit, and we were working from home. Joel knew I also wanted to write, so he reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, you got any cool ideas for a comic?" And I pitched him Yule, which I had started to write as a novel, and he liked the concept. We fleshed it out from there, and here we are. So,
well, before we get too much into that, go ahead and tell everybody about kind of a little bit more about you personally.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Joel is the Dos Equis man compared to me. He has way more interest in life than I do, apparently. But I grew up obsessed with horror. I'm 36, so I grew up on Goosebumps, and then when I was a little kid, and then it turned over to Stephen King in about 8th grade. I read It, and I fell in love with horror. So from there, I wanted to be a horror novelist. So that was my dream job. I'm in New Hampshire as well. Like Joel said, we live in New Hampshire. I live at home with my wife and 2 kids, as I'll talk about later. So my son's name is Will, which is the main character's name in Yule. But, I mean, I'm a pretty boring person compared to Joel. So
Well, I don't know about that. You make a comic book, so you can't be that boring. So Dutton is here. His camera shut off again, but you gotta get a little peek.
I am currently on my phone because my laptop was like, yo, someone unplugged me and the battery died and it's being slow as crap. So I'm like, yo, I'm already late.
And we also have Todd
we'll do it live on
tonight.
the phone.
So we got Dustin, we got Todd. How was everybody's week? Okay, so let's start out with that. We've done introductions with Joel and with John. How was everybody's week?
Yeah.
It was a week.
That sounds great.
It's been hot. It's been hot.
I am having
Florida, so it's
a
hot.
feud with farmers.
Well, I want to recognize some of the people that are watching tonight. We've got Ronald Wabwire, or Wabwire Ronald, I think, however we want to say that. I always call him Pastor Ronald. He's in the chat today, checking things out. We got Nefarious in there. Hail nerds. Hail everyone. Then we've got Wabwire. Ronald says, hi, Joe and John. We got Derek Fury in the chats today saying, yo, what's up? Nefarious is here. He's saying, I kind of expect John to have a conspiracy board on the adjacent wall. So that sounds pretty good. He also says, look at Dutton, blank expressionless as always. Hey, what's up, Todd's Truth? So thank you for being in there. We've got quite a few people watching right now, and so we're across several different platforms. I do want to encourage people to, before we kind of get started with things, if you do Gemini mailers. So you guys are doing a campaign right now, right?
You got it. That's right, bud.
Are you planning on shipping out in Gemini mailers?
So this is kind of cool. So we have a very unique packaging experience with the campaign, right? And my whole take on it, I've been saying this, is like if you buy something from Apple, it begins with holding the package, right, when you're opening it. So there's a certain mechanism to how the wrapper comes off and the thing slides out, and the foam pops up, right? So we kind of want to emulate something like that with our packaging. So the Gemini mailer is one variable of a many line of different variables that you're going to find in the packaging. Nice. And we probably spent more money on custom packaging than we have the books. It's been crazy. So,
I love the custom packaging. I've been doing custom tape.
Yep.
I'm doing custom tape, but because I'm like, but I agree that experience, opening the book and all that kind of stuff is very important. But I want to let all of our viewers know that this is not my discount code. I'm friends with Varian Grant, who does Indie Volt Radio, and they've got if you go to Gemini and buy your books, buy your mailers, you can put in Volt 10 as a coupon code and get 10% off your order there. So just kind of let people know that if you're watching, if you're in need of Gemini mailers, it's kind of a consumable that most of us use tons of, so you can always go by there and check that out. So yeah, we're having a pretty good day, pretty good week. We're gonna get into it here in a minute and probably share the link to get into the room. Maybe we'll get some expertise in this week. But it seems like almost every week in comics, somebody's canceling themselves.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to see who's canceled themselves this week. I think I just learned of a new canceling just a couple of minutes ago. So, Nefarious does say this. He goes, "Our book is 9x12, and in Gemini is prejudiced against Euro books." Yeah, it is. So they don't make a mailer that size. Personally, I think it's because Gemini never imagined it would have taken something that big. I get, it's an American company. We're doing, American-sized standard comic books and stuff and trade paperbacks. I think, when you start doing when something gets that popular, that you don't think that you're going to need to switch over into other areas. But, that is what it is. So here's what we're going to do. I want to talk about this project. This is something that you guys are working on, right? And what is the name of your company again?
Livid Comics.
Livid Comics.
Yep.
I like that. I like that a lot. So, okay, give us the pitch. What is this book all about?
So Yule follows an 8-year-old named William Sheldon, and the concept is, so Will, it's Christmas time. He's Christmas shopping for his dad, and he goes into an old antique shop looking for an old record that his dad wants. he finds this mysterious cube on the back of the junk shelf in the back of the shop, and he picks it up because he sees it light up. He ends up buying it for $1 because he thinks it looks cool. What he doesn't know is that it's a device that Santa used to use to suspend time so he could deliver gifts around the world in a single night. So it's called the cube is known as the Kasi, and he ends up in a fit of rage triggering it and teleporting himself to an unknown dimension between home and the North Pole.
Oh, wow.
So he wakes up, in this dark, snowy forest, doesn't know where he is, and some evil lurks in the woods, chasing him through the woods. And I won't give too much away for issue 1, but long term, the idea is, he's in this dimension. He doesn't know where he is yet, and he needs to end up getting this Kasi to safety. Sorry, I'm hearing a lot there. So really, it's a good versus evil situation. Ultimately, he finds himself in this situation where he's lost in the woods, and this is where issue 1 picks up, gets him into the situation. But there's going to be time travel, travel in different dimensions. There's going to be alternate Earth, Santa Claus, aliens, whatever you can think of. I mean, there's something for everybody. So it's a hybrid of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, I would say.
Yeah, that sounds like, so let's watch this trailer. How long is your trailer?
1 minute 30 seconds.
We can do that. That's not bad. Let's watch this trailer and see what we've got here.
To rewind a little bit, buddy.
Yep.
There you go.
I'll play it right now. You want me to go?
Yes.
Cool.
That's kind of cool, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. So it started out all like, hey, it's Christmas and we're happy. And then it was like, but everything sucks. And I'm like, all right, okay, now you've got me. I'm interested in the book. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So John, you are the writer.
Yep.
And Joel, you are the artist, right?
Yeah, everything. Do it all, man. The colors, all of the lettering, everything. That's all my fault. So
cool, man. Yeah,
Yep.
cool. It's got a real cool vibe to it. I kind of like that. And
yeah, thanks.
I think Dutton, do we have your audio fixed yet? You were real noisy earlier.
I don't know. Is it fixed?
Oh, you're a bit better now. Yeah, now you're better. Okay, so let's take a look at kind of some of the. Do you have? Let's take a look at your campaign. If you want to go out of full screen mode and just kind of show us what you've got going for the rest of this thing here. I'm also gonna pop you up there and make it bigger just so that everyone can see it well. So you had $1,000 as your funding goal, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, you have blown that out of the water. Yeah, you have killed that.
Yeah, we feel very fortunate for that too. We had a lot of Joel's fine art followers that backed us, and friends and family backed us on a pre-order for a collector's edition. So we were concerned about how our Kickstarter would go, and we funded in less than 6 hours. We were blown away.
Nefarious says you should have had me do the voiceover because I really capture the spirit and intensity of the book.
But there will be an issue 2, so maybe we'll talk about that. So
dude, I really dig it's kind of the dark tone of the book. And at the end, we'll go over stretch goals and kind of get into some of those things that you're offering with it. But this looks like a really cool campaign. Why don't you throw the link in the private chat, and I'll throw that out in the comments for everyone to look at.
Yeah, so the art, Luke, to your point there, it actually progressively gets darker as the book goes along. And it's kind of a subconscious thing, but there's more darker tones. So it's kind of very, very subtle, but I'm sitting there grading that thing down throughout the book.
Yeah,
so.
Eventually you're just going to be looking at a black piece of paper.
Yeah, that's the end, right? They roll credit. We're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are words here, but I don't see what's happening.
Right.
Well, welcome to reality.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you throw that there. Thank you very much. I'll grab that link here real fast, and then I'll throw that in the comments. So I want everyone to go by, check that out. How many backers do you have so far?
54, I believe.
54. Man, that's not bad. This is your first campaign.
Yeah.
So are you noticing that you're getting a lot of people that are coming back in and like from your you said that the fine art followers are coming over. A lot of friends and family.
Yeah, we did, some different Kickstarter exclusives too. So a lot of them, they got the collector's edition, and that book is printed and done, which is great. So, it was nice to be able to roll this campaign out with the book done and in hand, right? So we're not going to run into a lot of fulfillment delays. Was a big thing. But, John and I are both surprised that people said, yeah, I'll get the collectors and the Kickstarter. Like, okay, well, how much more do you guys do for us? I mean, my goodness, flattered that they're doing that for us and took on both of those pledges, both for our pre-launch. So funny story, we were like 9 pages into the book and sold out of the collector's edition. I mean, and that was just word of mouth. People were psyched about it from, my following on the fine art stuff and things and family and friends and stuff. And
that's awesome, man.
This whole thing, man, we were thinking we'll just sell 30 books and, maybe put together, have enough to cover. And, then it just got big and, or bigger than we thought. So, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So,
we'll welcome Frog G to the chat. Thanks, Frog G, for popping that link in there. As always, you are the superstar of indie comics, period. I'm telling you, that's just the truth about Frog G. If you don't know Frog G, you need to get to know Frog G. Frog G is an amazing guy. All right. So, man, this looks good. So how much work is left to do? Or is the book done, or is there still some stuff to be finished?
No, book 1 is done. We had a couple promo copies sent to make sure everything looked good. We got Joel's got it right there.
Pop that up there real fast.
There we go.
Here, let me get you big
promo copy.
That
right.
Looks great.
And this is cool today. We just got in custom backing boards too, guys. Right. So.
Oh, very cool.
And 5 of these are randomly going to have original sketch art on them that I'm just throwing in as a golden. I call it the golden ticket. So. And I'll do that on the Kickstarter too. I don't care. So we'll throw some in. So you might find some prizes on your backing board too. So gotta check that out.
That is awesome. Yeah. Frog G just say, "Hail all, hello everybody. We are so happy to be broadcasting again tonight. Last week it was thunderstorms, and a couple weeks ago I was sick as a dog. Came back the following week and was doing pretty good, but last week was thunderstorms. We're at that time of year in Florida where people love to come here to vacation. Unfortunately, they don't realize this is the rainy season for us.
Yeah. Lightning back here is common, so you might see when it gets darker. There might be some. So.
Dutton, you're buzzing again, man.
I don't.
We're the
maybe it sounds like a fan or something.
I'm in Central Florida, and we're the lightning strike capital of the world.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's crazy. Just the amount of rain that we get, and so it seems like every weeknight there's thunderstorms. I mean, it's rainy and cloudy outside right now, but there's no thunderstorms, so we're all set. And whenever I don't know what it is, thunderstorms, and it's like the internet here. It gets scared and runs away. Yeah. All right. So I put out the link just a minute ago. I'm gonna put out the link one more time because there is some crazy stuff that's happened over the course of the last 2 weeks in comics. There's always somebody trying to cancel themselves, and I don't know much of what's going on. So maybe our people in our chat can help me out with this. Maybe you guys can help me out with this. But so some folks are getting, there's some drama. And one of those people is a guy named Chris Ellis. I think I got his name right.
Yeah.
And he works for Image, yeah. And so, what's going on with Chris Ellis these days? Does anyone know, like, really what's happened with this guy?
Oh, sorry. I don't. I saw what Image was saying about, like, saying they're not going to work with him till he, like, fixes stuff. I have no idea what's going on. I've tried to find
Warren Ellis.
Oh, Warren Ellis.
Warren. Oh, geez, yeah.
Well, that would explain why Chris Ellis. Like, nobody knows what the heck's going on with Chris Ellis.
Yeah. All right. So, I do know.
Okay.
He got canceled.
Your volume's real low, brother.
All right. Hold up. Let me.
You're killing me today, bro.
Yeah, I know. I'm having so much difficulties, man. I apologize. Boom. Yo.
That sounds better.
Cool.
Can you guys hear him all right?
All right.
That's better,
he got technically canceled last year, right before like season 4 of Castlevania dropped.
Okay.
He kind of got Me Too'd, but he never really forced anyone. He more or less, in the early 2000s, like 15 years ago, he had a forum website called The Engine, where Kelly Sue DeConnick, Chip Zdarsky, Tim Seeley, I believe, Matt Fraction, a bunch of people used to go there. They actually got their starts through this forum. And it was like also a big like Warren Ellis groupie thing. And some women were like kind of thotting it up a little bit. Like, I'm going to put pictures of me in my underwear on this forum. And then Warren be like, yo, how are you? Because, you know, if it's your website and they're doing that, why wouldn't you, right?
Okay.
So, he more or less just slept with a bunch of, like, groupie fans. Sometimes even bringing them to Comic-Cons and be like,
cost him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here, I'm going to share this.
The best part is that his exes tried to claim he was grooming them. And they're all adults in their 30s.
Well, no. So this came out last year. He went away for like a whole year because that's typically the thing is you go away a year. Well, he came back and was like, yo, me and I forgot the artist's name. We're going to come back and we're going to do Fail, which ran from like 05 to 08, but never finished because Warren got like contractually obligated with like some exclusive stuff. But he's like, yo, we're going to come finish this. And then people were like, no, you won't.
Yeah.
And all the women are from like 19 to 27.
All right. So I saw on Twitter. I might have to mute you again, Dutton.
I'll mute myself.
There you go. Yeah, just unmute yourself when you're ready to talk. Okay. So I saw on Twitter where some people were talking about canceling him or kind of going after the fans that still support this guy. And then, so there's kind of some back and forth, a couple of people that I know, and just kind of seeing that interaction. And that's when it got me first started looking into it. So it says here that obviously we know that Ellis was the creator, writer of the Netflix's Transylvania series. And I'm looking at IGN right now, so you guys can go and read the full article there. We're just going to pull up a couple pieces here just so we know what's going on. So this guy, he was accused of multiple women of predatory behavior and sexual misconduct in June of 2020, which wasn't that long ago. Like you said, it was a year, right? So there's a website that contains several dozen testimonials with many details and incidences of Ellis sending sexually explicit messages or using his position to pressure them. Now, Ellis's response was that he, doesn't think that he's famous enough to be able to use use that power, I guess. So it goes, in a now deleted statement, Ellis wrote, I have never considered myself famous or powerful to the point that where I've made a lot of bad jokes about it for 20 odd years. It had never really occurred to me that other people didn't see it the same way, that I was not engaging as an equal when gifted with attention, but acting from a position of power and privilege. I did not take that into account in a number of my personal interactions, and this was a mistake, and I own it. So at least he kind of owns, like, look, maybe I did have a little influence that I didn't realize, and maybe that helped me get into those doors that I maybe would not have otherwise been available to me. And real quick, we got Ichthus in here. Hello, Total Excellence. What's up? We are having a great time. We are talking about the latest cancellation. Because every week there's a new cancellation within the geekdom. A year ago, when the revelation about Warren Ellis came out, we removed him from the death metal books. This from Scott Snyder, in hopes that accountability would be taken, amends made, and comics would move forward and be better through difficult but crucial good work. So, what do you guys think about this thing?
Man, I don't know. It's one of those things where I guess if you're doing anything, like even, the only person that's going to cancel me is my wife for doing too many podcasts, you just got to be so careful these days. You can't even blink without getting in trouble. So I don't know. It sounds like I don't know enough about this story to sound intelligent about it, so I'm not trying to take either side, but it sounds like this was all agreed upon. Like it wasn't like him being predatory. I don't know. Someone else can talk.
Reading from the website, it was more or less all consensual. Like Ellis acted like, oh snap, an 80s rock star, but he's a comic writer. It's like, oh, I got groupies. Well, what did 80 rock stars did with their fans? Let's go backstage. Oh, Comic-Con's over? Let's go to my hotel room.
Ellis was a single guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think that's why I take my wife to conventions. We'll eliminate any possible problems with that.
Maybe he needs to hire a handler, just somebody that follows him around, keeps him out of trouble, right? So I don't know what the word is, but like some witness to what he's doing, some accountable, right? So
a dude with a spray bottle, like, yo, I saw you, check her out. Down.
If any of the people that are watching have more details or opinions on this, please let me know. I'm out of the loop.
The crazy thing is, all of this happened like 15 years ago. Like, George Bush was president when this was happening. And like I said, in the forum, you have a bunch of big-name writers who got their start from there. And, in fact, one of Comics Beat's writers has been going, like, on a warpath on this. And she was a moderator on the site. And, in fact, did a goodbye in the engine is what it was called. She even had, like, the engine t-shirt and was like, goodbye, and was, like, kind of cupping her breast as saying goodbye, and was like, oh, yeah, there was thoughts, but those were just crazy scamps, and it seemed like everyone knew who was a moderator. And a lot of the moderators were, like, big-time writers now, and it's like, y'all didn't have issues with it back then.
It's just crazy how many, it's like, I'm muting you, man. There we go. I can't believe how, like, it's maybe it was his turn, maybe it's, just, disgruntled exes. Sometimes it's hard to tell, sometimes it is really hard to know all of the details because people sensationalize so many things. And I love that all these creators are getting on, they're getting their stuff on Netflix and streaming services like that. But at the same time, it does bring out some people that are maybe not entirely honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as a creator, how would you guys deal with something like this? Like, obviously he says he's innocent here. That, he didn't, he apologizes if he inadvertently used his position and status to get women. But he honestly thought he just had groupies and things like that. He was, kind of like Dutton said, he seems to say that he was just kind of, all's fair in love and war, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, I think so. Without knowing all the fine details, I want to be careful, obviously, because obviously there's some serious stuff out there that's really bad. But I mean, if it was literally consensual, he was a single guy, he was living his early life, and like they were just having a good time. It's like, man, like I'm glad I had a boring early adulthood. There's nothing that could come back to haunt me. Like, but yeah, I don't. My big thing is I'm just blatantly honest. I tell it like it is. I would not sugarcoat it. So like if someone was like, don't say anything without a lawyer, I'd be like, no, I'm saying the truth right now. I didn't do a damn thing. Like this is how it is. Like I don't know. Man.
Jim says I'm going to cancel myself while canceling myself, effectively canceling my cancellation. It's a lot like TV show. It is. It's so hard to know what's going on. Rick Moody's in the chat today, says hi. Welcome everybody. We're here hanging out with a couple of great creators from Livid Comics. We've got Joel and John. They're working on this is your first comic book? Comic book. So far wildly successful. Needed $1,000 to fund. They're sitting over $2,000 now. They got 54 backers. Hopefully before the end of this thing they can break 100. I think that'd be awesome. Get some eyes on that. Joel comes from a fine arts background, and they are both very creative gentlemen with a really cool comic. We'll be talking more about that towards the end. Nefarious says Uno reverses cards, no you. Okay. And then Jim O'Reilly again says, you're all canceled. We are all canceled. And speaking of all canceled, we've got more people who are canceling themselves. And that would be, check this out. That's not the view I want. That's the view I want right there. TSR. What the heck? This came out of nowhere for me. I had no idea this was going on until I started seeing all these crazy memes on Twitter. They're all quite fun. It's like roll initiative, and it's like they're all like landed on one or whatever. So apparently this guy from TSR did an interview, and here you can watch the interview if you go over to the RPG News. It's what's it called? belloflostsouls.net, BOLS, tabletop RPG and geekery news site. You can go over here, and they've got a link. You can watch this video. But apparently this guy did an interview, and he seems like he kind of looks like a boomer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's probably a boomer. But so this guy...
He looks like Captain Kangaroo.
A little bit. But he's like an old school gamer guy, right? So tabletop dude, RPG. And so this guy is it's Gygax. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Gygax Jr. Said he spoke at length about his perception of the RPG industry and made remarks that range from insensitive to outright offensive, while also managing to be dismissive of the progress that RPGs have made over the last 4 decades. Now, here's the thing. I do want to preface this before we go any further. I have noticed that every news outlet about anything is so biased towards one side of the story or the other. So I have no idea without like watching the video and making my own kind of my own assessment of it. But I'm just going to say this, and maybe I'll get canceled for it. Who knows? If you go ask a 60-year-old person about certain cultural things, you're probably going to get an answer you don't like.
Yeah.
You know, because they talked and did and behaved differently. And if you ask someone their opinion and you know, it's almost like this. It's like, I know at one point I saw an interview where these people set up this guy. He was a really like staunch conservative Christian, and they asked his opinion on homosexuality and gay marriage, and he gave it, but he was also kind of one of those people that was just a little rough around the edges. And they goaded him, and they knew what kind of response he was going to get, and they got him to make it, and they canceled him. And I was like, dude, didn't see that coming? Like,
Yeah, we always have some grandparents that say some questionable things, right? We're like, Grandpa, you can't say that anymore, you know?
Yeah, like they still call things like call people like Oriental and things. Like
right?
you don't call people that anymore. That's not they're Asian. Like that's
Right.
like, what are you talking about? Like, and they'll just say things they don't understand, you know, and they think they're just being, you know, they're being good, but they're not being good.
Yeah.
And so Frog G says he should hold a Gygax Gen Con. It can't be confused with Gen Con since we know Gen Con is not associated with Gygax. Yeah, there you go. Jim O'Reilly says, keep up the great work, Luke. God bless. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Kevin is saying, I've been canceled since I first left my parents' house. I developed an immunity to it, and the only cure I can recommend for it is more cowbell. Thank you for that. And then God's Black Friend, we had him on a couple of weeks ago. So great to have him in the chat. There is a link if you want to come in and talk about this. I know you have some expertise in the gaming world, so feel free to pop on in, and we'll bring you in. We'll talk about this. It says, dang, just got here. I wish I was in on this convo, and you can be. So go ahead and he'd go to GaxCon, whatever. So yeah, here, make sure we got this link. Pop on in if you want to be a part of the chat. We'll get you in here because I think this is something that could be fun to talk about if we knew anything. Like if I was in the loop. Panel, your thoughts on this guy?
I don't know a lot. I saw like a little bit, but the only one I'm in the weeds on is the one Ellis one.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
This one I'm like, kind of know, but I'm also like, I don't know who this Gygax guy is. I know he has something to do with Dungeons and Dragons.
All right, so here's a couple quotes. He goes, why a new TSR? TSR has been gone. This is his quote. This is what he says. TSR has been gone. There's a ton of artists and game designers and people that play. And recently, they were dissed for being old-fashioned, possibly anti-modern trends, and enforcing or even having the concept of gender identity. And then he laughs. And so, I guess it gets worse from there. Then he goes on. So he was asked about Wizards.
That would make sense. I did see some people were like, he's anti-trans. That one quote right there at the end.
Good.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that means he's anti-trans, but
it's Twitter. You make any gender identity joke, Twitter freaks out.
I think anybody can play, you know. But all right, so here's the deal. Dutton, I'm gonna have to mute you again.
Yeah. I'm you.
There you go. On Wizards of the Coast, Lorraine Williams in the original TSR. So he's asking that question. He says they just took, as all corporate raiders do, the treasures, and then tried to make them their own. I think it's funny when he's talking in real world. He talks about like games, like he, which is for me. I think that's hilarious. I mean, like that tells me this guy thinks in games all the time. But he's like all corporate raiders do. They do the treasures. They raid the treasures, and then they tried to make them their own. American Indians did the same thing. They would wipe out another tribe many times, take the women and children and murder off everything else, and leave to make your tribe that much better, room to grow. I can see where some people might, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that statement?
Yeah, I think going back to what you guys were saying a few minutes back with the whole grandfather scenario, right? Is we're all, at that age where we're more accepting of things, right? So we're teaching our kids, what is normal now, which maybe wasn't before, and when you get up to that age, like Joel was saying, it's gonna be hit or miss, I mean, granted, I can't speak for this guy because I'm probably half his age, but if I truly believed something that the rest of the world right now wasn't believing, I'd probably just not say anything, because you have to understand cancel culture right now is not a joke.
They will cancel you for anything now.
Yeah,
like they really will. Like they will take anything you say and twist it and misconstrue it in order to cancel you. But okay, so I know like what he's referencing here. American Indians, they used to do that. Like one tribe would overtake another tribe in order to grow in order to expand their borders, their territories.
Pretty much like any old country or old culture used to do that though.
Yeah, Alexander the Great did the same thing, but part of his was like holy wars with the Crusades, and
England did it to America.
Right? Yeah, we did it to the American Indians. It's kind of a common thing where people will come in, the raiders will come in, and they will assume that treasure for their own, and he's likening that common process with what has been happening in the gaming industry.
So let me ask a question. If he didn't use American Indians and use an analogy like England taking over America, would that have been offensive? Right? So if you supplement, is it that word? Is it the fact that he specifically, identified a section of people? Is that what makes that questionable statement?
Probably.
Right? So,
probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, my great-grandmother was full American Indian, so does it offend me? No, it doesn't. So, I mean, I don't know, but so I don't care.
Right?
And most of the people that were offended by that statement don't even know an American Indian.
True, right. So,
my godparents are Apache.
Yeah.
So I'm not offended by that statement.
Yeah.
And they're not offended by that statement.
Yeah.
So a bunch of probably dumb white people are the ones who are offended by that statement, who don't know any American Indians at all. But they claim that they can be offended by them.
And there's going to be ambulance chaser people that are looking for lawsuit money too, right? So that's going to happen naturally. They're going to say, I'm offended, but really they're trying to get some type of financial recourse for their being offended. So, right. Some reparation.
Yeah, because they usually do, because they're stupid.
Right. Exactly. And then we pay for it.
That offends anybody except dumb white people who think that they can be offended for the Native Americans who aren't offended to begin with.
Well, there's one virtue.
All right.
Right. So
exactly.
That's they get their point for the day. They roll on. That's what they do. So.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if they wanted money or they wanted something more sexual.
Wow.
I don't know what cut in there, but it was kind of a good timing. So is that? Were we being canceled? Is that what
It's like the same people who were offended by the Washington Redskins football team.
So I had an answer to that. They should have made the logo a potato, and the problem would have been solved.
Yeah.
Right? Kept the name, make it a potato. Redskin potatoes, done.
Well,
right?
I didn't know any Native Americans that were offended by that, and literally these dumb white people come along saying, "Well, you're just not smart enough to know you should be offended by that."
Yeah, you're not woke, bro. You're not woke, bro.
Yeah. And the Native Americans looked at him and went, "What are you talking about, you morons?"
Wasn't it a Native American that actually went to them with that logo design? It was like, this is a famous chief, right? And like, we'd be honored to have this be your logo, right?
Yeah, that's the person who designed it. Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. But there's more. There's more. So on cooperating with Wizards of the Coast. This is what he says. I've yet to hear anything that's really like super offensive. Okay, like kind of I see a couple things where he's just kind of like, just a little crazy. Nefarious is telling me to scroll down the page to the part where he says there's no room at our table for modern social issues. That okay. that's what I want to get to, because I have read this article, so I do have a little bit of I have an opinion on this one. So change to potatoes. That's thinking outside the box. I like it. I like it.
Well, from what Nefarious said on the whole modern tabletops don't need modern social issues, that I can make sense when... Well, hold up. When you have to think of a lot of modern people think orcs are coded for black people.
Well, they're not.
When it's just supposed to be whatever race just turned wicked. At least with,
and those are the same stupid white people.
Well, I always played as an orc, okay? Because I identify as an orc. And we're going to add to the stream now. This is God's black friend. And you know what? He can speak on this topic more than any of us because God is his friend.
Yes. Also because I'm a D&D player of many years. And to speak to that, like that thing Dutton just talked about orcs being code for black people, I remember being so offended when I heard that. I was like, no, the people who think orcs are code for black people are the racists, not the people who made orcs. I've been slaying orcs and playing as an orc and writing orcs into stories, modules and things for years, and not once was I like, oh, that's black people. Like, it's such an offensive thing. Like,
it's so offensive, isn't it?
It is offensive.
So I saw this fun meme that showed it's a picture of a black guy, another picture, and the same picture of a black guy. If you see this and see this, then you're not racist. If you see this and and it had a picture of an orc and see that, then you are racist or whatever. And I'm like, this is so stupid. It's like, who honestly thinks that?
You know what makes me think of a black guy? Seeing a black guy.
A black guy. Or a guy whose name is God's black friend. I'm like, oh, Are you black? How dare you assume my race? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I really do.
Your actions have consequences. When you oppress people, they rise up in a fiery anger.
That's one of my favorites. I love that one.
Yeah. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. But we're not done. Go ahead, Randy.
I was gonna say I wasn't here for the entire conversation. I just got here. But have you guys discussed how them essentially trying to crap on Gary Gygax and his contribution to this thing that he invented that they all enjoy?
We haven't yet. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's get there. Okay. So right now he's got something he says on cooperating with Wizards of the Coast. He goes, I would hope so. But they just put out a big disclaimer recently trying to divorce themselves from the ethics and style of play that was involved in the origins of the game. They're basically trying to say we're a better company and a better type of person than those who started playing. At least that's somewhat of the impression they've given. And please switch over and be part of the new wave. Join the pack of lemmings. Oh yeah. And then he says... And the problem is, my fighter returns antagonism for antagonism. Again, I love how this guy he's so gamer that he keeps going back to gamer terms. I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's it. And the problem is, my fighter returns antagonism for antagonism. So that's where we start getting into some difficulties. And I'm having to throw protection from evil up. I can't, and then they can't make out the words, and here and there, end of the party, and hopefully someday I'll be able to throw a fireball. So he's like, look, this is what's happening. It's I'm fighting cancel culture because they don't like who we were back in the day or whatever. And so that's kind of thoughts on any kind of thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, isn't the child supposed to destroy the creator kind of ethos right there? That's what I think of, right? Yeah. We tend to destroy what created everything for us because we think we know better because the children always know better than the parents do, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I take from that. I think he's just riffing, man, or maybe he's trolling. Maybe he's just doing that stuff on purpose. But I'll tell you, dude. Like after 40, man, you things come out of your mouth, and you're just like, okay, I said that. It happened, right? So you deal with it too. So
Yeah.
and then 50, you don't care that you said it anymore. Then 60 plus, dude, you just forget that you said it altogether. So that's kind of right. So I think there's a lot of that happening, right? So that could be it too. I think he might be ripping or trolling. So who knows? You know.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the deal. I turned 40, and when I turned 40, I stopped caring a little bit about what I said and how I said it.
Yep.
It was more like, you're gonna have to live with it.
Yep.
I'm fine with it. It didn't hurt my feelings. I love what Ricky Gervais says. He goes, "Oh, you found that offensive. I found it funny. That's why I'm happier than you." So Nefarious says this, but that's the precise problem. Orcs aren't people of color. They're orcs. This is critical theory invading tabletop gaming and a postmodern Marxist deconstruction of nerd culture. Pisses me off. And I totally agree. Yeah. We need to be more inclusive, so we are banning you. Froggy says.
Right?
That makes total sense, doesn't it? That makes total sense.
The world to an idiot.
You guys are evil. So he has more thoughts on D&D 5th edition, and I got to be honest with you, I totally agree with his assessment of 5th edition. And if Nick Tockard, who developed the Hybrids role-playing game, and he created this new base +2 system for role-playing, and that we are developing, I guess I'll loosely announce it now. We're starting our own game publishing company where we will publish role-playing games, and he's kind of the engine really behind that. And it's pretty awesome stuff that he's doing. But
nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. But we've talked in depth about D&D 5th edition. And so here's the thing. On D&D 5th edition, this is what he says. The idea is let's share. The idea is there isn't a bad role-playing game. 5th edition to me is kind of like drinking light beer when you could be having a Guinness. It's still cold, has calories, some.
I think before this turns into like a bashing 5th edition party, like I think there's something to what he said in that I jumped on D&D in 3.5, which is like the super rules heavy version of the game.
Yeah.
And I was sort of put off by the game when I first jumped in, but I kept playing because I was invited by friends I liked hanging out with. So I was like, I'll just play this weird, complicated game because I'm here with my friends.
Yeah.
And then after say 8 or so sessions, I was hooked. I was like, okay, this game is really cool. And then after that 3.5 game, I went on to play 4th edition, which is kind of like the black sheep. And then I played a lot of 5th edition, and I did like it because I saw it as I saw the step down in rules as it's a good jumping on point for people who might be too intimidated by rules to play the other forms of D&D. So my favorite version of D&D is Pathfinder 1st edition, which is very rules heavy. It's based on 3.5 D&D, but I think 5th edition is a great way to get people to Pathfinder. And so because of that, I think there's merit to 5th edition.
Yeah,
lots of people have had lots of fun with that game, myself included.
I'll say this. There's merit to all of those things. And I think, and that's the problem, no one system is better than all the others. It is, some people might have some really strong opinions about it, but opinions are like buttholes. We all got one and most of them stink, So it's hard to say which is better, which is worse. I will say thank you, Frog G, for sharing the link and also letting everyone know that the quick play for Hybrids of Sons of Gods is still available on that campaign, and we are getting ready to launch a Kickstarter for that as well, so that people can just get the quick play here soon. So,
yeah, I mean, you think about RPG, man. How many more people has RPG brought together versus divided over the years of all walks of life, right? I mean, the numbers you can have hundreds of thousands, millions. I mean, what's the number? I mean. And so how exclusionary is it being to maybe the handful that are feeling excluded versus the millions that it's actually brought together, friendships were formed and things. I mean, it's a net positive at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I got into comic books and role-playing 1994. really got into the role playing then. Comic books I'd been into for a while, but really experienced role playing for the first time, 1994. And man, I fell in love with the escapism that was there. And that's what we're going to... So Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum said this. We here at TSR would like to invite you to our world of imagination. And that is exactly what it is. We come here to escape real-world realities. We have no room at our game table for real-world issues. We feel this would only water down or take away from major real-life issues. Since the online woke push to derail TSR, thank you, the woke, sales are up.
Nice.
And exactly, and that's the thing. I prefer agenda-free entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So what you guys may not know is I'm a preacher. Like, that's what I do. Like, I'm a preacher.
My dad was a preacher, so there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Mine too.
There you go. Hey.
I know when to preach and when not to preach. I know the value of preaching and all that kind of stuff, right? I don't want to be preached to in my entertainment. I want to make it. It's okay. Make me think a little. Make me question things. Make me feel things, but don't smack me with this stuff. And I feel like that's the thing with escapism, with comics and in games and all of those things, is that it used to be this way that we could get away from the things that burdened us through the rest of the week. And that game night was the night where we pigged out on pizza and Mountain Dew, where we hung out with our friends, where we strap on our orc armor and we kick some major butt, and we had some fun, and we made jokes and we had laughs and we enjoyed ourselves. And I feel like what's happening in our world is everyone wants to try to, we got to take away from that. You can't have your fun space, people are allowed to have safe spaces, but not fun spaces. It feels like these days, like everything has to, it's not fair to play that game if it's not, talking about the real world activities out there. But I like what they said in that tweet. It's if we put those real world issues and conditions inside of our game, it's like we're diminishing those real world issues. It's not that we don't want to focus on those things or to do something about them or talk about them. This is escapism, and it's a game. For crying out loud, guys, it's a game. Chill out. I always tell people, dude, it's just the funny books. You need to chill out. It's not a big deal. It's comics, man. Yeah. And if comics can't make you happy, you need to stop doing it. It's.
Yeah, I feel that with the sports world too. For 3 hours of the day, I want to watch the game and tune out all of that stuff, and I'll deal with all the problems of the world once the game's over. But I don't want to be reminded during the game about everything going on in the world, right? I want that same escapism too. So
there's war, there's racial injustice, there's gender injustice, there's human trafficking. There are so many horrors and so many terrible things that we do need to deal with and we do need to pay attention to. But for crying out loud, if that's all we're inundated with all day long, every day, and we never take a break from that, it's going to be unhealthy. It's going to tear us down, and we're not going to be any good for anyone to help anything. So I do believe people should help. They should get involved with those things, but I do believe the entertainment can and should just be fun at times. Maybe it can enlighten you a little bit about some of these issues that's going on in the world. But only as a sense to hey, there is a problem out there. Maybe you might want to look at it.
I think things are too safe out in the world. Maybe we do need orcs raiding our village and things so that we could not have time to be all offended by all this stuff, right? We need some real marauders coming over the hills, right? Yeah.
All right, you heard from Joel. What we really need is to move the game world into reality.
Then it will get real, right? Then people will be like, I'm not so offended right now because they're about to torch my house. I got some other things to deal with right now. So,
hey, guys, I got this covered.
Yeah.
I have a take. I think that whether it's comic books or now it's pouring over, or has been, to tabletop gaming, it's that guys and gals, people who believe differently than the people who are seemingly in power right now or have this influence, People who believe differently than them are the people who created the things that they're having so much fun with and that they are making a living on, right? Gary Gygax and his co-creator, they were Christians. They were Christian men. I don't know how many people know that, but like they're born again Christians. And so like they sort of like Tolkien, some of their belief is sort of injected into the game, a few of the mechanics, but also just kind of like this spirit of like good defeating evil and adventures, helping people. I'll give you an example. Since I think Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the second edition of the game, which was also made by Gary Gygax was still there, and it's continued on through every version. There's this spell called Knock, right? And the description of the spell is you say the magic word and knock on a door, and then it magically opens a locked door, right? This is direct reference to the scripture that says, knock and it shall be open unto you.
Yep.
Right? And so people who sort of call that, they call it old, they call it wrong, they call it old-fashioned, they even call things like, the gospel evil. They hate that's the thing that they love so much, this game, D&D, and these tabletop games, has it in there and was created by people who believe this. And so they're trying to divorce like the people and the spirit that kind of created this thing from the thing that they enjoy so much. And to do that, they have to like preach super hard. And we were talking about how like you don't want to be hit over the head with preaching, right? Like with the gospel, that like there's a time to preach and there's a time not to. They don't know that with their gospel, right? Like the inclusivity and the gender stuff, and that's their own gospel. That's their own gospel, and they don't know when to stop preaching it. They don't know when to like be cool and like, hey, maybe I could have a conversation like this after the game sesh. No, it has to be all the time, right now, in the story, in the characters, in the race descriptions, all the time. Go. Right?
It's almost as dogmatic as that old like charismatic preacher with the barking, like God said. The people that make God a 2-syllable word, God. Those guys, right?
Yeah.
Oh, dear God. You gotta stop eating at the Shoney's. Whatever.
Yeah.
They gave me bad service. Those guys.
It's exactly that. They don't know when to stop preaching their gospel and just hang around with people and play D&D.
Yeah, and be like, hey, here's my viewpoint. Like, here's my point of view. And I think, a lot of times, reasonable people would be like, okay, man, I see where you're coming from. And so, obviously I'm a Bible believing person. I'm a preacher. I'm a pastor. Mm-hmm. Officially, my title is Reverend. Mm-hmm. And but I sit at the table with people that are they don't believe. Maybe they had experience with faith before. They don't have it anymore. I've got atheist people. I've got people that I associate with that would call themselves Wiccan and things like that. Obviously we disagree on some things.
Yes. I've gamed and gotten along for years with people who disagree with my faith, and I think like gaming puts us in a position where we can have those conversations without it being this weird thing.
Yeah.
But in the past few years, like especially online, it's just been this like, you believe this, well you're that, and literally people I used to get along with years ago, like in person playing D&D, who I had differences of faith with, differences of opinion on things, but still got along with. I found in the current day have now become those people who like hate my guts and think I'm evil for believing that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Yeah. Like you didn't years ago when we were sharing a table and we were like slaying orcs together, right?
We don't have to agree to be able to get along and to enjoy these things. In fact, and that's what it was. Comic books, like I connect with people over comic books. Reading the X-Men and playing, even back then, even after the whole like Satanist, everybody was afraid, because Son of Sam and all of that kind of stuff. They went through that. Everything is the devil. Everything's the devil. Like what's that guy's Bobby Boucher, Waterboy's mom. The devil. Everything's the devil. Foosball's the devil. Everything was the devil. But again, these guys who developed the games, they weren't into witchcraft. These guys, these were just decent people. I remember everybody telling me Tolkien, and then like, oh, that's the devil's witchcraft. I'm like, no, you don't know anything. But nobody cared. Nobody asked about those things. It was like, oh, that's who you are. It's like, oh, that's the Christian friend coming over. That they would try to say things to get me to blush. They still do. It was like, well, Luke don't say the F word. And it's but we would still hang out, read books, play games and stuff like that. And it just seems like that's what I love about geekdom, about those kind of things, is that you can connect with people and share who you are. And maybe your influence will rub off on them. Maybe their influence will rub off on you. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's about having a good time playing games or reading a comic book. We're definitely going over tonight, but who cares? We're having a good time, right? We're making up.
If I could just talk, my comment to that is, I was just talking about it with Joel yesterday. Like when I'm writing comics, like it is escapism. Like I don't have an agenda. I just want to tell an entertaining story. I mean, there's a plot-driven agenda, obviously, but I don't want to talk either side of politics, religion, like cancel culture. Like I just want the story to entertain people. And I had a story that popped in my head recently, and I was telling a friend about it. He's like, oh, you got to watch out with that. Like, I wouldn't even write. I'm like, man, like, that's a good story. Like, I'm not trying to offend anybody. Like, so it's just.
Yeah, just tell the story, man. If it's a good story, tell it. If people get offended by it, I don't know. If they get offended by it, maybe they need to be offended by it.
Right.
Not everybody should. I mean, we don't always need to be protected from ideas we disagree with.
Yeah, and social
Elliot
media.
Rodriguez Art says, hello, everyone. Good talk. Yeah, we're having a good talk, Elliot. Thanks for showing up tonight.
If anyone gets offended, be like, yo, sorry that this book didn't land with you, but, maybe the next title will be more up your taste.
It's a story. Now, I'll tell you, so I try to read indie comics as often as I can. And I've got a couple here that I just want to point out. I got this book sent to me from Don Chin, and it's X-Farce Reloaded. I'm going to make my screen big so everybody can see this. So here's a couple of things that I've been reading. I just want to give my impression on these things. And then I'm going to let you guys talk about some of the stuff you've been reading. But so yeah, I've checked X-Farce Reloaded. Look at that cover. That's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So it's a fun book. It's funny. It is escapism. It takes all the stuff that I loved about X-Force, and then it just it goes in a really silly direction. And I also got this killer mug from him. So thanks to Don for fueling tonight's craziness with that nice mug. And then I got another one here. I read this one a while ago. I just found it again because I wound up doing a pinup in it.
Can I say about that book, how crazy is it that a book called X-Farce looks better than the actual X-Force book?
We can talk about that in just a second. But I want to point out this. This is some work by Rodney Fike and a couple of other Hill and Lentz. Roadkill Rampage is a really cool. Let me show you some of what you're going to get on in the inside here. This is from. What's the name of the studio this is from? Just got a H on the logo. I'm sure it'll say here on the inside. You go to Hazzum, HAZZUM.com, and you can check that out. And this is a fun. It's kind of a crazy ride, but I'm telling you, it's got some really nice. It's black and white book. It's got some nice art in there, and I agreed to do a pinup for it because I saw some of the work and I thought it was really cool. I did a pinup as a stretch goal, and check that out. That's if you kind of like. This is like a one-shot story. Look, isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm gonna get in here real quick. Look at that. That's an eyeball.
That looks like
That
something
is
that would
so
happen in the
cool.
woods
That's
out here.
gruesome. That's cool.
Yeah, this is a really cool story. Great art. And yeah, I've got a pin up in here somewhere. I'll just show that off for a second. Yeah, there we go. That little piece right there was for me.
Ooh.
Showing off that charger.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's tough.
I'm looking
That
at
grill
that
work must have been a
squirrel.
killer. Yeah, that grill work must have killed
Yeah,
you.
the grill work was. Yeah, that took me a while. And yeah, Adam Fields did the one with the squirrel eating the eyeball. Look at that. Isn't that cool?
I think that happened right down the street here earlier today.
That's unmapping, which is a good sign.
Yeah. So X Farce. It's parody.
It's a
It's a
parody.
parody. And look at the art. Oh, here, I'll do it again. Make myself large again.
Yeah.
It's there. So it looks like there's a number of different contributors in this. So not all of the pieces look the same, but it's most of it is like really, really solid work, but it's super entertaining. Like, you know, all of the styles kind of fit the what it is, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so it's a good time. If you want a good read, go over there, check out X Farce with Don Chen. Sometimes I'll talk about a book that's not any good. And I've got one that I'll share next week. The art I backed it. The art was gorgeous. I thought, ooh, this is going to be so good. And it's terrible. It's terrible. The art's awesome in it. But it's like people are just naked for no reason. And it's like...
That's a big thing. That's a big thing right now.
It's like, yeah, why do we do that? Like, why do we just make people naked for no reason at all?
Variant covers, ridiculous. Man. That's a huge thing, right?
Yeah. And hey, here we go. Frog G again. The hero. I'm telling you, if there was a Caped Crusader, if there was a Superman of the indie comics industry, it would be Frog friggin' G. That's what I'm saying. So he's got that over there. So go ahead and check that out. He's got that link for you, so you can go ahead and jump in there. And he's also got that X Farce Reloaded all ready for you. Indiegogo. It is still in demand. You can grab it over there. Man, I'm telling you what, some great projects, some great books. What have you guys been reading? What's on your pull list?
So I've been backing a ton on Kickstarter since we got in to doing the comic, and I was trying to network with people. I've backed so many people. To this point, I've received mostly PDF stuff. I haven't gotten the physical stuff, but I don't know if you guys saw Whitaker Knox a few months back on Kickstarter. The art in that is awesome. It's a dark tone. It's a horror comic, and it tells the story of this detective who has this like special ability where he can talk to the dead. Which I know that sounds familiar, right? But if you just see the art, I mean, the way the story's told is awesome. And he basically has this third eye where he can put his like hand over his face, and it's an eyeball on his palm, and he just starts talking to the dead and like seeing the crime scenes and whatnot. Very supernatural. Cool. Yeah, it's if you saw the art, I mean, I wish I had the physical copy so I could hold it up to you, but it's good. And I backed the guy. That was the first thing I ever backed on Kickstarter. So
cool.
Yeah, I've probably some more popular stuff. I've been reading like Something is Killing the Children. That's been great. And then of course, Joe Hill. I mean, Joe Hill's a local boy. I mean, he's like 40 minutes down the road here. So Stephen King's son. So his stuff. Absolutely love the Lock and Key series. Those 6 books were fabulous. Gabriel Rodriguez is a magician. I mean, that's a book I wish I had drawn. Right? That's just. It kills a Netflix show, which was good, but I mean the ending of that series of the book is so much more strong than the show. So if you've seen the show and you like the show, you'll love the book. So get all 6 volumes of that because that is fabulous. Especially volume 4 and volume 6 is absolutely fantastic. But Something to Kill in the Children has been great, and Last Ronin too. I've been working through Last Ronin, so I got that caught up too, which has also been another New Hampshire guys, right? Ninja Turtles were over on the coast here, just a few miles away.
That's like local for you. Like that's indie for you, right?
Oh yeah,
Ninja Turtles, even though it went mainstream, that's still indie.
So I bought all that stuff, man. Like when I was a kid, I was buying Mirage Studios. I go to a local comic shop and pick up indie titles, and there was even this brand new label coming out called Dark Horse, and no one had ever heard about. So picking up that stuff, right? So, but like New England Comics was a big one with like the Tick. Remember that? That was great. And I was a fanboy. I was 9, 10, 11, writing letters to those guys like Ben Enlund and And Eastman would write me back, and I had little sketches. Hey, thanks for following the show. They weren't anything at this point. They were still doing their black and white books, and I just loved it. And I don't know where all that stuff's gone over the years. It's probably worth a mint now and then somebody's museum, but it just disappeared. But that was, so I was doing indie comics as a kid too, like just local stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. They're from down the street. Got to get on that. And every kid loved Turtles, man. Now it's kind of having a resurgence. So that's kind of cool to see too. And they're getting back to their roots where they get hurt and they swear and it's darker and grittier. And it's not the Archie comics cartoon that we saw for a while there, right? So it's getting back to its roots, which is real cool.
Yeah. Nicholas Anthony Tockard, who is the developer for the role-playing game of Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. He says, so any of you folks recommend any indie titles that feel like the fun early Top Cow Image era? Think Gen 13 or Danger Girl, classic Tomb Raider, Witchblade era.
Giger's been cool. Geiger was a pretty sharp new title. I forget who's putting that out, but that one, the art was good, the story was good. It's like a guy that's trapped outside of a nuclear bunker and his family's inside. Well, he got trapped outside, the family's inside, so he gets blasted. It's kind of his Hulk origin. He gets blasted with radiation, so he's got all these superpowers now, and he's trying to ward off people, protect and ultimately get back to his family. But all the marauders are trying to get into the family vault there, so he can hear his family inside, but he's outside, and he's got these magic superpowers, I guess, now. So that's a sharp series, and it's good art, too. I think Eric Larson worked on some of that, too. That's pretty good.
Yeah, a book I'm really looking forward to is Adam Lawson's Kill Journal. I think it's going to be, I kind of feel like it's going to be in that vein. And so from what I've seen and what I've read of the digital stuff, man, I can't wait for the book to come out. I can't wait for it to get to my house. That's why I can't wait. But again, Frog G comes in, says maybe Isodora or the Immortal Chain, and he gives a link so that you can check it out there. And, there's really only one thing to say. I think Frog G is a hero.
I'm going to go out and buy some more. You guys all think I'm a hero, and I'll accept that responsibility.
I don't know what he looks like, but all I'm going to picture is Danny DeVito now. So
yeah, I don't either. So thanks again for popping that link in there. Sam, Todd, Dutton, anything you guys reading right now?
Nothing indie actually. I've been catching up on my favorite writer, Chuck Dixon.
Oh,
yeah. So
you said nothing indie.
Okay, sorry.
This show is for the indies and by the indies and about the indies.
I understand.
Chuck Dixon does write some indie stuff, like Jawbreaker's backup stories.
True.
There you go.
And I will get around to those as well. But right now, I'm reading all of his own stuff. I didn't want to lie and be like, oh, I'm reading such and such. I could throw out a number of books, right, that I've been not read, and you'd be like, yeah, that's great. But I wanted to keep it at 100. Right now, I'm reading Chuck Dixon's old Batman.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, yeah, we'll let that happen. But we're just gonna move right along. Okay, here's the deal. I have no problem with the older stuff. I'm just not, and I have a lot on my pull list. I mean, I spent a lot of money on new modern comics, like things that came out just now, and I'm not loving it so much.
That's why I'm reading Chuck Dixon's old stuff, because all this new stuff is trash.
I'm a Golden Age guy, so I'm going back even to that stuff, man. I go way back. So.
Octopus Cowboy has just got thrown up by Frog G, and yes, I will say that one looks pretty good. It'd be nice to have him on the show sometime and talk about that book.
You know what? There's a book called Valhalla Awaits. There's like 5 days left on Kickstarter. If it'll kind of give that Danger Girl, classic Tomb Raider-ish vibe. Good series. It's only like 3 issues long, and like I said, Kickstarter ends in like 5 days, so you can get all 3 issues of like the trade. I recently just finished reading Phobos by Jason Brubaker.
Does that stand for something?
Phobos is just like him shortening phobia, because it's a black and white, kind of like the Monsters type art style, like classic horror, but it's a comedy. But it does look really good.
What?
Yule.
Yule does look really good, and in fact, we've got the creators of Yule here, and so let's just spend a little bit of time looking at this campaign and what you guys are offering, kind of the price points to get involved here. So one more time, let's show your video.
Yeah, sure. Let me go back there.
Back there, and I will
for you
do.
guys.
That looks, it's all like, I'm so happy it's Christmas, but Santa Claus has died.
So mad props to our buddy Scotty out in LA. He actually worked on the Wonder Woman 84 trailer and some of the other major motion pictures. So that's what he does for a job, and he hooked us up on that. So
he did a great job. And
oh,
you know
man,
what?
he's
I'll be
killer.
honest with you. Some people think the best thing about Wonder Woman 84 was the trailer.
I agree. I think it's good.
I kind of enjoyed Wonder Woman 84 because I watched the old TV show and it was campy, and I just Gal Gadot's easy on the eyes. So I mean,
right.
It's not a hard thing to do.
Calm down there, Warren Ellis.
Yeah.
This trailer reminds me of the Krampus movie.
It does.
Where it feels like it's all Christmassy and sweet and everything, and then the bad stuff comes.
I mean, it's funny you call me.
sorry.
Calm down, Warren Ellis. I just got that. I was like, what are you talking? Oh, canceled. Canceled.
Yeah, I mean, the whole concept of the story was, I wanted it to be centered around not just taking place at Christmas time, but to be rooted to Christmas. So, that's why, the Kasi is, Santa used it to suspend time so he could deliver gifts. And it may sound, I mean, it's family friendly. There's no cursing. There's not really any gore. There's a little bit of blood, but, there's some dark moments that we have planned throughout the series.
So what age group could I get this? My son's 11, getting ready to turn 12. Would this be good for him?
Absolutely. My son is 7. I mean, granted, my son watches Ghostbusters and he's 7. I don't know if that's really for 7-year-olds at this point in time in this day and age, but I read the promo copy to him, and obviously I was showing him all the artwork. Sweet, and all that. He's obsessed.
So I'm going to be honest with you because I always give the things I'm worried about. Number one is lettering. I always worry about lettering. I worry about pacing for people that are first time with sequential art, and I worry about that's it. Lettering and pacing are my two biggest issues. But what I saw of the pacing of the sequentials, it looks pretty darn good. And this is your first, Joel, your first sequential?
Yeah, that's my first stab at that. Lifelong reader, right? And actually, I had a portfolio scholarship to go to Savannah College of Art and Design for sequential art, but most 20-year-olds, you chase money instead. So I started a business instead and did okay with that. I was doing auto repair and salvage, actually. So yeah, it's my first go at salvage, but I'm sorry, it's sequential, but it's just kind of what does it make sense, right? And I try to think of it and not repeat angles if I can do possibly and things like that. Try to make it new and fresh and kind of pulling off some of the fine art world. You try to have a foreground, midground, background, try to get some depth to the frame. I love panel play. I love things like with the interactive gutters, things like that. So it's very nice and orderly when he's in his world, but when he gets into the realm there, they all fall apart and nothing is structured anymore. And that's by design too.
Great. Will Pedens in the chat says, "How's it going?" It is going well. We're just looking over Yule. Or if you are super Southern, Joel.
It's not my name either. It's not my name.
Y'all. Hey, y'all.
Some people are like, oh, you named the book after yourself. No, it's not.
Yeah, that's okay.
Can you actually go into the naming, because
Sure.
you pronounce it as like Yule, but I normally you spell it like Yule, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I can talk to that a little bit. So we wanted like a Norwegian Viking, Scandinavian name for the Christmas. So it's like Yule log, right? That kind of thing. Yeah. And there's actually a marketing play to this too. So my daughters are 6 and 8, and they go to the comic shop with me too. Now that's really fun. That's a good experience as a parent. I'm 6'3", so I can see all the A name titles on the shelf in alphabetical order. I can't see the Z name titles at the bottom because they're too low, and my 40-plus-year-old back doesn't want to really get down that low to go through them all. So we wanted something that would land, honestly, somewhere in the middle of the alphabet, and that's for kids to hit, like you mentioned, Luke, that 11-year-old age. So on the shelf, we're thinking about this at LCS. How is that going to land on the shelf?
Dude, I
Number
love
one.
It.
Number two, we wanted something that kids could write. So my daughters, like I said, they're 6 and 8. They're learning how to write. They're learning how to read. Can most kids bang out 3 letters? Yeah, they can bang out 3 letters too, right? So it's something that they can mimic and that they can write down. If we had some big long title, they may not do that. So I wanted it really to imprint the kids that way.
They're not spelling out hybrids, the sons of gods.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my daughters would be, Dad, how do I spell it? Right, every letter, right? So
yeah,
at least they can memorize 3 letters, right? So I get in the kid's head. So it was really like me being a business guy, marketing guy. Where does it land on the shelf? Even when you look at, I'll hold this back up. So when you look at the spine, right? So I put what it is on the spine. So when they're fanned out on the shelf, you'll know exactly what this book is about, because we've all been to the store before and the books are all stacked on top of each other and you have no idea what the book's about, but you know that this is going to be a Terra book. So that's the one they're fanned out on the shelf. And that again, it's definitely an homage to like EC Comics in the old days, but that's specifically for marketing and also visibility on the shelf. Exactly what that's for.
So Frog G says that the book looks good and he's backed it. So you've got one backer there.
Cool, man.
I'm going to go back this book for certain. And then a great idea on the marketing, says Elliot Rodriguez Art.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
Is a great. All of those things is a great points, and I love that you guys are thinking about brand new readers, like young readers, because that's so important. Now and that's why I've been so focused on indie and trying to help get new indie stuff into stores. And before we go, I mean, I know this sounds like like a pitch, and it kind of is a little bit, but I just want to. I want to say there is an advocate out there for indie books like yours and mine and companies like yours. And I don't know if you have seen it or not, but it's this thing called Liberty Distribution. And you should definitely check out ledg.us. And before we get out of here, I'll share a little bit more about them. But they're working to get indie books into retailers. And I'm telling you, they do so good for both the retailer and the publishers. It's a great deal to get involved with, but comic shops need to have more of that stuff in there, because more and more adult themes are creeping into my favorite comics, and I'm like, man, I don't want my little kid seeing that.
Right.
So that's what I like, where this is like, man, I can give this to somebody that's 7, 8 years old and wanting to start into comic books. This would be a great way to maybe get them excited about it. I love how the colors are really bright at the beginning, and then it gets like all dark and sinister, and just because a book is kind of geared towards a younger audience doesn't mean that older audiences won't like it, or it doesn't mean that it has to be like goofy and stupid. It could be really good. And this seems like a really cool story. I think one that most people want to read. Now, when do you plan on shipping this book out?
The goal, I mean, again, we're waiting on the large order to come to us now. It's already submitted. So the idea, the campaign ends towards the end of July. We want to ship it all out by August. So fairly quick turnaround time. We're waiting on all of the rewards to come now. Well, we've hit a couple stretch goals already. We're waiting on that stuff to get to us. Joel's gotten some stuff in the mail already, so August is definitely air freshener.
Frog G says, if you do hit the air freshener goal, do not send me that, please. I kind of have the same. I've got a box of tchotchkes. Then I'm like, okay, that's never going to get used. There's things that I do like. I like trading cards, and I like, there's a few things I like. But air fresheners doesn't seem to be one. Like, nobody was doing air fresheners. Now everybody's doing air fresheners.
We were crazy. Trying to be silly. And I think the yo-yo is cool. My kids are super pumped about the yo-yo.
The yo-yo is cool. Like,
yo-yo's
yo-yo.
cool.
I'm like, you will see, like, I will do videos. If I get the air fresh, if I do the yo-yo, if I get it, it'll be like, you'll see me doing videos of me smacking myself in the kneecaps and forehead and everything in between.
We have no liability on that, sir, so that's on you.
I'm stewing. Positioning on the shelf I've never thought about before, says Alfred Pennyworth. And that's a great idea. That's great.
Real quick on the trade card too. You mentioned you like the trading cards. The art design Joel did for that is amazing.
Do you have a picture of it on the campaign?
Yeah, it's
no.
up. Yeah,
it's not
it's
on
up.
The campaign, is it?
Yeah, scroll it.
Oh,
it's on. Well, it's on the air fresh.
Well, you guys got control. Remember?
So he was going with the old movie poster theme.
Drew Struzan.
Yes. Where is it?
There
No,
it
don't.
is. Okay.
So the trading card is going to be this image, but it's going to be metallic. So
neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, take us up to the top towards your on your tiers, and let us know what we got going on here.
Yeah. So this right here, first of all, is the Kickstarter exclusive cover. The cover Joel showed you earlier, that's what you're going to get on the regular edition.
Okay.
This is $25 up and above, or $25 and above. You're going to get this option. So tier 1 is pretty standard, just the digital edition, a PDF. Tier 2, that's the standard cover plus the PDF for $10. You move down, and this is where you see the exclusive cover, some stickers, the trading card, which that's not the real image, obviously. Now you know that.
Yeah.
The PDF.
Stickers are different too. Yeah, they've changed
the stickers
up.
are different. Oh yeah, the stickers are pretty cool too. Which
those are metallic too. They're hologram stickers, so that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Tier 4 is you get the poster, you get the trading card stickers, digital edition. The posters are going to be signed as well. So, and then tier 5, we got some swag there.
That's the big one.
T-shirts.
It's a big one.
Yep. Posters. We've had quite a few backers. I just skipped over 50, didn't I? I'm sorry. So that was the 50 there, and then the 100 is where you get the swag. So the hat, the T-shirt, poster.
Trucker cap hat, not just any hat. Trucker cap, bro.
Yes.
Cap,
Sorry.
Right
Yes. Yeah.
It's key. It's trucker cap. Yeah.
Our biggest backers so far have been, I know, from doing research on Kickstarter, $25 tiers tend to be the most popular, but we've gotten a lot of 50 too, and more, a handful of backers on the 100 and 150 as well, which is awesome. So. The $150 tier, you get the original sketch from Joel, plus everything from above as well. So, moving on down here, tier 7. This is where it jumps up a bit there. You get the Bristol board with the original art from Joel.
Okay, so let me ask this: so that it says penciled copy of a page, is that the actual pencils, or is it a reproduction?
So it's all done in digital, so I'm going to reproduce that on Bristle in pencil, right?
Oh, okay. And are you doing a sign in like a 1 of 1? Or
yeah, exactly right. So that'd be,
okay.
I mean, man, if we got all, I think there's 28 page with cover. So if we got 28 backers at 500, I'd do a cartwheel.
Can people choose what page they want, or are you just sending those out at random?
That's a good point. I mean, I'm open. I'm flexible. If you want to give me that kind of coin, but I'll do whatever you want at that point.
Okay.
Right? I'll have to leave your voicemail for you. Right?
I'm a digital artist too. That's kind of what I do, and it, I do a lot of the printing off the I normally skip my pencils and just go straight to inks.
Me too. Yeah, I do a lot
I'll
of
like
digital.
I'll rough it, and then I'm like, and now we're doing inks. It makes it so much more fast to do that. So yeah, but I'll do the same thing. I'll print off, do 1-of-1s, and so.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. So that's $500 for all that good stuff.
Yeah, and then the last tier is up there, and I think obviously this is partly by design,
So drawn in.
There's only so much space we can have for new character faces, so so it had to be a pretty pricey tier.
Did
based
you
on
limit
story.
it at all?
We didn't.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things where we'll see what happens, right? I mean, no one's backed that one yet, but and there is book 2 is actually Joel's more than halfway done. The pencils on that, so
Nice.
there's plenty of room for multiple faces if it came to that. But
yeah, there's a female elf we meet in book 2, so that could easily be converted into somebody else, right? She's on the air freshener / trade card, so she's on there too. Yeah.
Wait, would you convert the one on the trading card too to match the backer?
At that point, buddy, I'll do whatever. So
I mean, that's more than a typical drawn in. Typically, for the drawn in, you get that's a pretty good deal. So here's the deal: if you're out there and you've got the coin to drop on this, you could kind of have your face as one of these characters, because most people will do a drawn in as like you're a background character.
So she might be an important character too, because we were talking about a spin-off with her, so it might be a big deal. So that's something just to tickle you a little bit too. So it might be a big deal.
So go on over there and hit pledge. All right, and so you got some stretch goals. So you've already hit your goal. Have you hit any of the stretch goals yet?
Oh yeah, we've hit a couple. So the first one was an iron-on patch with our logo, our Livid Comics logo.
All right, sweet.
No sewing on iron on, because I suck at sewing and most people do. So we just make iron on, right?
It's worth the extra coin to go with that iron on for people.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, and our logo. I love our logo too.
That's a cool looking logo.
Yeah, it is a cool logo, and you should love your logo. Or if you didn't, it shouldn't be your logo.
True. This is true. Yes.
Exactly.
Stretch goal 2 was the yo-yo, which we hit. Now that's for $25 and up backers. So the $10 backers.
So if I want the yo-yo, I have to bump in at 25.
Right.
All right.
And you get the patch too, right? Everything preceding. So
okay.
And then the air freshener, which we won't send you guys, but it's pretty cool. So it just
we like our cars to stink. So take it.
Just find some rogue Monte Carlo and hang it on there. We'll appreciate the marketing. So
Frog G has to hop. He's going to see us later. Yeah, we normally keep this within an hour, but we're like an hour and 40 now at this point. So yeah, we're kind of going a little long tonight. I normally go until my drink is empty, and it's almost we're so close to being empty. So it's yeah, we're gonna be wrapping this up probably in about 5 or so minutes. So
I'm rather curious.
Oh, sorry.
What is the scent of the air freshener?
Black ice, man. Of course, right?
Oh, okay.
Everybody loves black ice. Black like our soul, and ice like our hearts, right?
So here's the deal. I used to be a general manager of an Advanced Auto Parts, and so I had moved around, and I was like the fixer guy, right? So I'd go to these stores to fix them. But all the air fresheners, people never stocked them. Like that was like the number one thing. I was like, take care of your air fresheners, because that's like high margin stuff. People are going to get it. And we were always out of black ice. And I was like, I double ordered black ice for every store, and I put a bump out on the counter, because people will be standing there like buying something else, and they'll grab the black ice, because I'm like, that is the most popular air freshener.
You got it, buddy. It's cool, man. All the cool kids with their tricked out Hondas. When I used to work at a Honda dealership, that's all they hung was black ice. So.
Little rice rockets.
I'm 40. I'm 40 plus, but I know what the cool kids, what they're doing. They're not doing any pine tree or citrus, man. It's black ice all the way.
They're smoking their Swisher Sweets with their.
Allegedly.
Black ice didn't want to be here. There's all that white suppressive snow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Right? I don't want to get canceled. I guess we got to be careful.
All right. So that's the next stretch goal. You hit that one at what number?
We're close,
2,500. Yeah, we're right there.
We're right there, buddy.
Right,
yeah.
so what's
Frog put us within like $80, I think. So yeah, we're right there. We'll hit that one, no problem. But then the next one we haven't unlocked yet. So we
I'll
haven't
tease
told
it out.
anyone.
I'll tease it out a little bit, John. So we're talking with some other artists, right? Some bigger names. So there's going to probably be a variant cover, I think, real soon.
Oh, sweet.
Right. One of the guys we're talking to, we'd love to get him. He did something with a heavy metal magazine, so that's a possibility. So little teaser. Let me throw it out there.
There we go. Okay.
Wet your whistle
Awesome.
a bit. Yep.
Awesome. So let me pop that link in the chats one more time so people can grab that. This seems like a really cool project. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's your guys' first one. I want to keep an eye on what you guys do. I really do. I mean, I think it's really cool what you guys are working on. Welcome to the world of indie comics. Comics will break your heart, but we have a very special guest that has some really serious words to say about comics.
Comics are awesome,
and they really are, and they really are.
Keanu's right.
Keanu is right. So I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna let's see where everyone. I was just thinking. Man, tonight was a fun conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that just crazy. Who do you think's going to get canceled next week? Let's
Out of this group or famous?
No, famous. No, none of us are on anybody's radar yet. But eventually they're going to run out of people.
Yeah.
I mean,
they'll have to start slumming it by canceling us.
Yeah. Dutton, who do you think's next on the chopping block?
I mean, Scott Snyder's already been circled over the last year, and the fact that he helped take down Warren Ellis, they'll probably go back again and be like, "Oh, yeah, thank you for doing that." But
I think doing that is was done out of fear, and now they can smell the blood in the water, and they're like, "Oh, okay, he's ready."
See, that's the problem. If you were on the chopping block at one point and you escaped that, you're not taking the attention away from yourself by putting your name back out in the world to be like, hey, check out this guy. No, it's not like, it's like you realize nothing.
You're not acquitted.
But you know what? Actually, the fastest would probably be Rob Liefeld since he's coming back to X-Force.
Oh yeah, I follow him on Twitter. Yeah, that's probably a good guess.
I think they're gonna try, but I don't know. Maybe this is my naive fanboyness. I think Rob Liefeld is too powerful to be canceled,
or maybe he doesn't care.
I don't think he does. I really don't think he cares.
That's what adds to his power. He doesn't, and I think you really have to care to be canceled.
I think you do, and I think we've already learned that Warren Ellis fans are still sticking by Warren Ellis, but now people are going after the fans. Let me ask.
Here's the thing. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask, what do you guys think about that? Like, if someone says, "No, I perceive the situation differently," what do you think of the vilification of the fans of these people?
I think it's dumb.
I mean, I'm an Ellis fan, so I don't care. I mean, I'm already vilified.
Yeah, I don't know. I listen to music by people that have been canceled. I read books by people that have been canceled. Again, I view it as an escape. I don't read it thinking, "Oh, screw this guy," this happened. I don't want to think like that. I mean, and I understand the other side of it. I'm supporting them and this and that, but I don't know. I just want to be entertained at the end of the day.
And the truth is, there are enough actual villains in the industry. Elliot says this. I agree. Rob Liefeld is too powerful right now for the cancel culture. But you know what? That almost might be like a hey, I'll hold my beer kind of moment for cancel culture out there.
Bill Cosby, right? I mean, he didn't get off.
Oh, he's uncancelable. I think they take it as some of these people take it as a challenge, but there are enough real villains out there, real people that lie and cheat and do those things that we should just focus more on those and keeping those people out. I mean, there's nothing more I hate than a liar.
There's only one thing I hate more than lying. Skim milk, which is water that's lying about being milk.
Lying is. And the sad part is that people that are going after people, they haven't really accomplished much as far as creating either. That's another problem I run into. You know, it's a lot of these people that are going after, like, what have they built? They've built nothing, but they're going after people that have built something, and they have to, you know, we go back to the, you know, to the game thing. You know, it's like
I suspect it's this weird, like, internal power dynamic. They think, if I can cancel the person who is powerful enough to make this cool thing everybody likes, then I'm as powerful as them or as cool as them. And that's not really the case. Like, we like them because they made cool stuff. If you come around and cancel them, that doesn't make us respect or like you anymore. Like,
I think they have like the Chronicles of Riddick logic. Like, you keep what you kill. So it's like, if we can cancel them, then I automatically take their spot. But that's not how it works, because
Yay! Think about what you've accomplished.
Yeah, also, this is like coming from a group of people who think everything is a like power dynamic, and they don't believe in the idea of like merit, right? Like, oh, we like these creators because they're good, they have merit in what they do. Warren Ellis is a good writer. That's why we like him, but they think it's like, no, it's this weird power dynamic of he's white and he was in a position of power, and so if I can this feng shui, this power, and turn it against him, then I can be the powerful one. It's this weird.
I like feng shui the power. I like that. I'm gonna start using that. Let's feng shui the power.
Feng shui the power.
The culture of vampires, they suck the life and creativity out of people so they can hopefully use it for their own gain, right? So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, so let's go around and tell everybody where they can find you. We're going to start, let me see. When you see your face go up on the screen, that'll be you.
All right, Joel Van Patten, Livid Comics. You can get us on lividcomics.com. It's kind of a dual portal right now. You'll see some of my fine art stuff on there too, which is cool. So I do some oil painting and things. Facebook.com/Livid Comics. Throw up hearts. Actually, hearts are doing better than likes on their algorithm, so hearts are a big thing. That's another little tip. Instagram, livid_comics, and Twitter is livid comic singular, because somebody else stole the livid comics names on Twitter. So it's just this livid comic on Twitter. And that's pretty much where we're at these days.
Yeah, I mean, Joel and I, our partnership, everything he just said is where you can find me, you know. So we share all the logins for, you know, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So
that's it.
Yep.
I am God's Black Friend on Instagram. I am God's BLK Friend on Twitter because, like he said, someone stole God's Black Friend on Twitter. So I'm God's BLK Friend on Twitter. I am also one half of Capsule, the indie game company. So Capsule USA on Instagram, as well as Capsule Art on Instagram. Yeah, and more coming soon.
I am Dutton. You can find me on Facebook at Justin Dutton. You can find me at Twitter at JustinDutton18. And after this show, you can find me in the kitchen making like a grilled cheese sandwich.
I love it.
You can find me on Twitter at Truth Todd, because somebody else took Todd's Truth. There seems to be a theme here going on.
Yeah. Who are these
and
people?
You can also find me on YouTube at Todd's Truth. Starting to get back into making some new videos and stuff coming up and some new stuff. And on Instagram, Todd's Truth.
Awesome. You know, you can find me at LukeStoneStudios.com, and you can also find me at LukeStoneStudio on Twitter, because studios is too many characters. Apparently there's nobody else named Luke Stone that wants to do studios. Okay, so if you go to my website, Luke Stone Studios, you can get all of those fun things there. I'm on Instagram as Luke the Destroyer, though.
Nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'm Luke the Destroyer. You know, because I'm evil. Yeah, so you can go there. Make sure to find us on, if you're watching on Facebook tonight, please go over to our YouTube and like and subscribe there. Ding that bell so that you get notifications. And we'll be doing this every week. You might also notice this little thing scrolling at the bottom called the tip jar. I absolutely appreciate any tip that you give us, it will go to just, doing better equipment, making better content, and those kind of things. I want to start doing some giveaways here in the near future, where we get people some really cool stuff where we buy comics to give away, and so that will be what we'll use those funds for. Just.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah, so definitely go back this book and support indie comics. In fact, don't just take it from me.
I'm gonna go out and buy some more.
Okay.
And I think you should too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's I think we should end there. I think that's a good spot for us to end. We don't have any new comments. We are all set. Joel, John, thanks so much for joining us. I know it was last moment. We had kind of the opening tonight, and you answered the call. If anyone is interested in being a part of this show, which is almost 2 hours tonight, but it's normally 1 hour, the conversation has been good, and we have enjoyed Joel and John and their company so much. Please get a hold of Dutton, the pro triangle player.
That could be.
And he will get you booked. He will get you booked on the show. And Elliot loves Danny DeVito. We all love Danny DeVito. He is a national treasure.
Yes.
And next week we'll have join us next Tuesday at 8-ish to 9-ish. We will have Luke, myself. We'll have Dutton again. We'll have Todd. And you know what? We might bring Sam, God's Black Friend, in as a regular panelist as well. I really like having you here. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to have you. The conversation's good, and we need the gaming expert because I don't know anything.
I got you. I
don't know anything.
I'm here.
All right, everybody. We will see you on the other side.